Today I'm trying out Artstudio Pro. Hi everybody, Steve Elliott here again. Today I'm trying out Artstudio Pro. Bit of a disclaimer here, the developers actually contacted me and asked if I would like to try it out, and they sent me a promotional key to download the app for free. So the first thing there is, wow, people are sending me stuff to try out, which is awesome. I never thought that would happen. And second is, I'm going to treat it just like any other app that I've downloaded as a demo or I bought. So it's going to be impartial. I'm going to do it exactly the same. I am going to paint a picture in my style. I'm going to wade straight in. Well, I've had a little play. I've sorted out one or two brushes and spent about probably 45 minutes just messing around with it, getting a feel for it so that the video wouldn't be too clunky, which is what I do in every tryout. And I'm going to wade straight in and do a painting. So here goes. Well, the first thing is the app does allow a split screen. So I've actually opened up pixabay.com, the free source image resource library, and I just dragged the picture straight into the app. So I thought that was pretty cool. I've never tried that before, so I don't know if you can do it in other apps, but it was cool that you could do it in here. And as you know, if you follow me, I do like to make a palette, so a palette of colours. So the next thing I wanted to do was see if that was possible, and it was. I was able to create a new group of colours by clicking on the little cog thing and then creating an empty group, and then using the tool picker. This was a bit clunky though, because basically you had to close that window, select colour, click on that colour at the bottom, and then click add colour, then add new colour. So that was a little bit clunky, but it worked. And a feature that I'm not seeing in other apps was that as you select the colours, you can see a colour palette appearing down the right hand side. So I thought I would limit the colours to just those that would fit in that little bar on the right. I then deleted that image because I'm not tracing it, I am painting it. So I deleted that image, and then I created a new image. I think it was about 4,000 pixels by 2,000 something. And there's lots of tools on here that I can't help comparing it to Procreate actually. And there's lots of tools here that I haven't seen in Procreate, or I've not even looked for. And one was the blend fill. So I don't know if you can change these colours or if you can only use the colours that they have displayed, but I couldn't find any way at all to change the colours. But as I say, this is just a try out, and I didn't really explore it too much. I spent about, I don't know, less than a minute looking, and then I gave up because it wasn't obvious. And then I used the blend tool, which was a little bit quirky. To get it the right way around, you sort of had to kind of, it always wanted to fill it the opposite way to what I wanted, and I had to sort of spin it around, but I got there in the end. And the nice thing was, once I'd put that gradient on, I could then overlay another gradient on top of that. So I've got the blue sky, and then I went for a sort of a sandy colour, and then I filled the bottom part. There you see, it went the wrong way, and I spun it round again, and eventually I got there. There we are. So that was nice. That's given me a sort of a background start, which I don't normally do. I usually sort of crash in with the paint, but I thought I would try and use some of the tools that were available here. So I've got my ground colour on, and I will obviously, I couldn't find a way of locking the layer either. So I don't know if that's a feature that's missing, or again, if I couldn't find it. But I had to just take care that I wasn't working on a layer that I didn't want to damage. So at that point, I then opened up Safari again, back to Pixabay, and to zoom in on the image, I actually had to download that a bit. Download it. You can't download it a bit, can you? I downloaded the whole image, and you need to. Well, you can download without having an account, but you have to sort of click on this "I am a person, not a robot" thing and download that. I have actually got an account, but I wasn't signed in on my iPad, and I didn't want to. But so I'll put a link for this Pixabay, because it really is a great resource for images if you're stuck for something to paint. Last year when I was doing Inktober, I used that pretty much, I would say, for, I don't know, 25 days out of the 31 for an idea to paint. So, but I don't use it much for my actual real paintings. Obviously, I use my own source material, but it is a really good resource. So I thought I'd try this beach scene. Beans as in the UK were absolutely melting at the minute with hot sun every single day, and we haven't seen rain for a fortnight, and it's killing me. And I actually did this painting last night, sat in the garden. I started it about 10 in the evening and worked till midnight on it, I think. So I quickly discovered there were 3 types of tools. You've got the paint, pencil and wet paint. So I went straight into wet paint, obviously, because that's my favourite medium. And I selected the real oil brush, and that's what I'm using here. And I have to say, when I first used the app, the first 15 minutes, I wasn't hugely impressed until I discovered the Smudge Tool and realised you could change the brush on that, and that made it a game changer for me, because here you can see I'm blending out and smudging colours, and finding the actual brushes was a bit of, that took a minute or two, because once you select a tool, you can see a toolbar along the bottom where you've got size and flow. That's sort of dynamic, and it changes with what tool you're using. So once you select the paintbrush, there's an actual tiny little icon of the impression of the paintbrush, and you can click on that and select the brushes. And the brushes I used in the old painting were the real oil brush, the oil bristle, an aquarelle brush, and a coloured diffuse. And for the blending, I used the oil blender, and that was the only tool I used for that. And I created lots of layers for this, because I got the base colours on, then I put the first blend on, then I added some highlights. And for the horizon, I selected the more option on the brush and changed it from freehand to line, and used that to get a nice straight line. And then I used the Smudge Tool to blend that out. So is that cheating? I don't know. I've never done that before, but that worked really nice for this. So there's not a massive amount of brushes in this. They are really nice. The ones I've tried, they were all really nice, and they, as you can see, the blending tool works really, really well. Though it is a bit quirky. It's the quirkiest app I've ever used, I have to say. It feels a bit strange because there's several things with it. One was it goes into auto-save mode, which is nice because it's sort of saving your work as you go along, but it sort of interrupts your workflow. Just all of a sudden you're painting away, then this thing pops up on screen saying auto-saving, and you have to wait several seconds while it saves, and then you can carry on. So if the developer's listening or watching this video, I think that could put some people off buying the app. So maybe you should look at making that a bit more behind the scenes, so you don't notice it's happening. And then the other thing that was, it's not really a game changer, and it certainly, I get the same problem when I'm using Art Rage on the iPad or even on the PC. I don't know if you saw then, a little mark appeared at the bottom of the screen. If you rest your hand on the screen, it does deposit paint onto the canvas. Now for this painting, it didn't matter because all the while at the bottom part of the canvas, it was sort of transparent, so I could just get the eraser and rub it out. But that would have been, if I was working on a picture with a lot more pigment on the bottom part of the picture, on the layer I was working on, this makes sense, that would have been really, really frustrating. So those were the only two things that really I could find fault with. Everything else was great. Well, you can see from the painting that it is a powerful app, definitely. I would say that it's got tools in there like symmetry and lots of, it felt more like a photo editing app like Photoshop, because it had got layer filters and all sorts of things that I'm not going to be using. It got text in there, which might be quite nice if you just want some plain text on your image. I don't know if you could put the text on an arc or anything like that, because I've just not explored any of those things. I just wanted to see if I could paint a picture in my style. Although I suppose technically this isn't in my style, because it's sort of very different to something I'd done before. It felt more like I was painting a watercolour, actually, the way I was creating lots of layers and sort of layering one colour on top of the other all the time and blending it out. I would imagine that you could do a nice watercolour painting in this. I might give that a try just to see if I can. I definitely like the colour palette down the right hand side. That was really nice, where you could sort of select the colours. And I was trying, here you can see I've got a layer that's set to magnify. So I did try the blend modes on the layers and that worked fine. Just sort of put a shadow under that bit of a wave. I did struggle a little bit when it came to putting the detail in. I think that was me, not the app, and I could have probably explored the brushes a little bit further. Oh, the other thing was the size of the brush. That felt a bit weird, because the first 3/4 of it went up in very small increments, like 1 pixel, 2 pixel, and the further up you got, it jumped very quickly to a much larger brush. So it did feel a bit difficult to get exactly the right size of brush that I wanted. And although the flow tool worked really nice to sort of adjust the amount of paint coming off the brush, I suppose, I couldn't find an opacity tool for the brush. There you see the paint, look, that's sort of marked the sand that I have to get an eraser on to get rid of those. That's what I'm talking about, where it's sort of the palm rejection isn't working exactly right. So I'm sort of putting the detail in now, and I'm still using the same brush. I'm still using the real oil brush. I use the real oil brush to get on all the bulk of the colour. The oil bristle brush, I tried that a little bit on the foam and on one or two things, but I didn't use it much. I gave up on that pretty quickly. The aquarelle brush, I use that for the foam of the water, because that gave a nice textured edge to the paint. And then finally the coloured diffuse, I used that to put in some foam on the right hand side of the painting. I haven't done that yet, but you'll see that coming in shortly, I guess. So I'm putting in the sort of foam and the kind of ridges in the wave, the sort of low wave that's coming in there. And I have to say that I actually used the source image from the Safari web page, and I've got to say I don't recommend that to anybody really. I should have stopped trying to be clever and just downloaded it into my images, and because you got a lot more control on enlarging it, and that did give me headaches from sort of doing the detailed work because I couldn't zoom in on it properly. So I think I would have made a better job than that. But anyway, getting back to the app, it didn't crash on me at all. It was very solid. It did feel a bit quirky in some respects, and almost as if it was built for a Mac or a PC. Well, not a PC because it's only available. This is available on the Mac operating system and on the iPad. And although I'd got codes to try both out, I don't own a Mac, so I'm just trying it out on the iPad. So that is it actually. That is the end of my tryout of Artstudio Pro. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated, and if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. And don't forget, click the bell as well so you get notified of any videos that I'm releasing, because I put out 3 videos a week. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.